Hey, it's Writers Row, where we talk about the writing community on Twitter, writing the creative side and the business side. This is DC Wright-Hammer, as always, one of your hosts, and I'm joined, as usual, by
David Gane, your other host. And you never even introduced what you do. I
Yeah.
write young adult murder mysteries, the Shepherd and Wolf mystery series. What about you,
Co-write.
DC?
You
What?
co-write.
I do co-write, but I write.
You do write. I write science fiction thrillers, and that's okay because we have a very special guest for this episode, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, I am Crystal Kirkham. I write a wide variety of speculative fiction from horror all the way to YA fantasy, and I will be dipping my toes into MG as well later next year.
MG, what's that?
Middle grade.
Oh, okay.
Yes, definitely no swearing.
Well, yeah, no.
So that's like a step, I guess, down in intensity from young. Is it before young adult or is it even?
Yeah, it's before young adults. So you're looking at I believe we're going to end up writing for about 10 to 12-year-olds.
Okay.
So it's a co-write project with a friend.
Nice.
Very cool. Yeah. And so, as you know, David co-writes, and I am co-writing a book right now, but it's sort of top secret, my co-author. So, but isn't it fun co-writing? I mean, that's not the topic of the show, but isn't it fun?
I haven't done it yet. I'm actually really nervous to co-write with. I have co-written, but nothing for professional publishing.
Okay.
So this will be an entirely new one, and hopefully, I will not have a partner who makes me start thinking in rhyme at 2 a.m, and I can't get out of it.
Okay, so DC, what are we talking about today?
So starting in July 1st, it's CampNaNoWriMo, right? And I know very little about it because as an indie author who does everything for myself, when something comes up that I know nothing about, I research it as much as my brain can handle and then I move on. And for CampNaNoWriMo, that was exactly like a web page, and I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know much about that. We should do a show about it. So that's what we're going to talk about, David.
Okay. And for me, I actually don't know anything about it as well, but Crystal knows tons. So I want to do two things. First of all, I want you to give us your credentials and why you know so much about this for us. And then I'm gonna come back and we'll talk a little bit about NaNoWriMo.
All right. So credentials. I'm going into my 12th year of participating in NaNoWriMo. I participated in Script Frenzy when they had that before NaNoWriMo ever started. And for the last going on 6 years now, I have been a municipal liaison for Alberta Elsewhere. And for the last going on to 3 years now for the Canadian territories as well. And in case nobody knows, the municipal liaison helps to organize write-ins, emails, encouragement, and pretty much just tries to get people active in the community.
So let's go back, though, to what is NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writing Month, which usually happens in November, correct?
That's correct.
And the only reason I know all of this is because this actually goes back to our writer's block episode, which was I wasn't writing for 15 years. It was all about fear for me, so I don't actually believe in writer's block. And then I ended up picking up No Plot, No Problem by Chris Beatty.
Beatty.
I knew I screwed it up as soon as I said it. I was like, yeah, no, that's wrong. Okay, so Chris Beatty wrote No Plot, No Problem. And the sad thing is I didn't even buy the book. I looked through it in the bookstore, and it said, whatever, what is it? How many words are you supposed to write in a month?
50,000 is the average goal that they decided was attainable, but hard for most writers.
Yes. And I was writing like 3 pages a day in journaling, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I can do this. And I didn't actually want to write script or novels. I wanted to write film scripts. So I just was like, yeah, no, I can do this. And then I just sat down and started writing, following the basic guidelines, and ended up writing 10 scripts in a year because of it. So that was kind of my thing. And then I ended up doing NaNoWriMo one year, and it's a horrible novel that'll never see the light of day. Mainly because I didn't have any plan whatsoever, and I just would show up at the page and make my way through those, whatever. What is it? Like, I think you need 1,333 words every day. Yeah, I just made those up. So yeah, that was my introduction to it. But I have no clue. So first of all, do you need to know a lot about NaNoWriMo before you jump into CampNaNoWriMo?
You really don't need to. They're fairly different in that Camp Nano lets you set your own goal because they know people are fairly busy in the summer. It can be hours of work. It can be number of words. They've got quite a few different settings that you can set up so that you can make it an attainable goal for you. Because if anybody's like me, April and July are insane months, and I can get almost nothing done in those months.
So what makes NaNoWriMo and what is CampNaNoWriMo, and what is different about it compared to just regular NaNoWriMo?
NaNoWriMo, I find, has a slightly more rigid setup. It's that 50,000 word goal. Although I always tell people, don't think about it as their goal, make a challenge for themselves and find their own personal challenge and go from there. If it's 10,000 words is hard for them in a month, go for 10,000 words. I try not to focus on that, but it's a lot more organized. The forums are more used. I mean, you're organized into your regional forums if you choose to take part in that. There's a lot more activity and a lot more people taking part in it. And camp is a more informal setup like any camp is. You have cabins where you can invite just your friends rather than people in your region. Everybody can set their own goal, which is very different from NaNoWriMo. It's just really informal in that way.
And you're saying camps. This is virtual, right? I mean, do people?
This is a virtual camp, but they do refer to them as cabins, and
Right.
they do have it themed a little differently. Every NaNoWriMo has a theme, whereas the camps don't really have as much of a theme to them.
Okay. And
I just have to say this, I literally thought there was like people were going off to some place and having a cabin experience of NaNoWriMo. That's how I imagined it. I was wrong, I guess.
you would think that, Dave.
Virtual camps.
But wouldn't that be awesome, just going to a camp and writing with a bunch of your friends? And then like getting to write and swim or whatever, just hanging out. It would be so much fun. We could do that utensil game where you can only eat with one utensil and you get spaghetti and whatever.
I have no idea what you're talking about, David.
Okay.
Oh,
You don't?
no.
All I can remember, my last camp experience, we realized that overboiled, hard-boiled egg yolks will bounce. So.
So what did you do? Where did this go then?
Well, nobody wanted to eat the yolks because they were a little bit too hard, and we realized they bounced, and that was it. So we started bouncing them across the table at other people.
Okay. DC, focus us.
Right.
We're two Canadians who like to get wandering off into.
Well, no. So, okay. So camp is different. You set your own goals, and you just try to attain them, right? Like the goal, you're your own boss in this case. And so let's say I want to do 10,000 words in July, and there's like a website, right? You can put in these goals, and you said if you're in a cabin, the people in your cabin can see your goals and how you're attaining it, or how does that work?
Yeah, they can see you listed because when you set that up, they'll see the name of your project that you're working on. They'll see your word goal. They can look and see how well you're doing. There's a little chat feature, so you can leave messages for the other people in your cabin, encouraging them, or, if you're really mean, making fun of them for not making their goal, but I wouldn't recommend that. I may not be always the nicest person, but I would never do that to someone because writing is a very hard thing to do.
DC would make fun of me.
Yes, I would. Confirmed.
I like how you paused there. You're like, should I be honest or not?
No, this is Writer's Row. We're pretty honest on here, David. For better or for worse. So it sounds like, though, for Camp NaNoWriMo, it's as much about interacting with friends or whomever you're in a cabin with, or however you set it up, as it is you're writing goals. Can you, I know you said you're not doing camp this year, or it's tough for you to do it, but when you've done events like this, can you talk about, maybe you didn't meet your writing goal, but you made some good friends or something like that?
I will be very honest. Every time I've done camp, I have utterly failed at making my goal. April, I always make my November goal, but I never quite manage for camp. When I said April and July are very busy, I work in the oil field. And so, for example, last year from about May to the first week of November, I was working 14-hour shifts. Makes it very hard to do anything at all.
Yes.
Not to mention April's my birthday month, so I'm often traveling back to other provinces, and then I show dogs as a hobby, so that takes up all my weekends during the summer. So for me, it's a really difficult thing, but I've lost track of the question.
So how it's not just about writing, right?
It's not. It's really about encouraging each other and trying to keep each other accountable. The big thing about NaNoWriMo is the community aspect. A lot of people go into the November NaNoWriMo thinking it's just about the writing, and more important than that is getting to know these other writers, having encouragement, having a support network, and the cabins do the same thing. So you're able to check up on your cabin mates and you're able to encourage them. I don't know if either you were following me in April, but I was trying camp again, and I ended up getting distracted by an editing project instead of writing what I was working on, which happens to me a lot. But pretty much, if not daily, almost every other day, I was posting encouragement and tagging everybody that were Twitter friends on Nano, who all really had Twitter friends who wanted to do Camp Nano, and really trying to just say, hey guys, I'm behind today, but you know what? Behind doesn't mean anything's lost. Let's just keep going. We're going to try and make our goals today, and just trying to keep encouraging each other. And that's probably the best part about it.
So, and then it's all online. So you sign in, like you get an account, you sign in. What is the website, just out of curiosity?
I believe the website for that one is CampNaNoWriMo.com.org. CampNaNoWriMo.org.
Okay. And so you go in, you sign up, and then if you're not getting into a cabin with people that you're not put into are you just in a camp but not in a cabin?
You can select to be randomly assigned to a cabin.
And
get to know whole new people that you've never met before. A lot of people will do private cabins, and then it's just them and their friends, and no random strangers can be invited in. But any cabin that's been opened up, you can be randomly assigned to.
Wow. And have you ever been a part of one of those cabins, the randomly assigned ones?
I have. It's been a very long time. Usually I end up in a cabin with a bunch of other municipal liaisons from around the world, which is kind of one of the really great things, is that I now have these really awesome writing friends in Belgium and all over the US, and a few other countries, but the closest ones tend to be the US and my friends in Belgium, and then me and my friends in Belgium make fun of the Americans on the side. So no offense, DC.
We deserve it. No offense taken. So a couple questions. and I think it's sort of twofold. So a lot of writers are introverts, right? A lot of writers, it's tough, and the writing side is very personal. I'm not necessarily a full-blown introvert by any means. As you see, I do this show. Um, but I've also not been writing as much. And so, what would you say to somebody who is either introverted or has reached a plateau? They're not blocked, but they might have reached a writer's plateau or something. Um, what motivation would you give them to just take a chance on CampNaNoWriMo in what is it, 2 or 3 days, and give it a shot? How do you reach those people who are more introverted or maybe aren't really doing a whole lot of writing right now?
You know what? The most important thing about doing camp is that it is, or NaNoWriMo in general, it is a personal challenge in that you're trying to get these words out. It has nothing to do with quality. That's the last thing you're supposed to focus on. And that's one of the things that tends to block a lot of writers is they're so focused on trying to make these really good quality words that they forget that quality comes with the editing. That's afterwards. First, you have to put those words on the paper. You can't edit a blank sheet. So just shut your mind off, listen to some encouragement, have some people to talk it over with. I know we're all introverts, but it's unbelievable the amount of inspiration you can get just talking through a plot with a person, even if they never respond. I think you've done that one, David, haven't you?
I do it all the time. Plus, I have a writing partner, so then I dump it on her, and then she gives me feedback occasionally. So, no, I shouldn't say it that way. She always gives me feedback, but sometimes I don't need her to give me the feedback. I just ramble, and then it comes to me anyways. So, yeah. Anyways, and then I do really like that idea of. And like I said, this is how I got myself writing. This is how I get my students writing. That idea of just getting the words down on the page. And I really love what you just said, where it's so much easier to work with words that are on a page and are physical than when they're stuck up in your head and you're like, oh, well, I got to rearrange them this way and figure it out this way. Putting it on the page, at least you can just be like, yeah, no, this doesn't work. Uh-oh, somebody's barking now too. That's a new one. We've never had a dog bark, have we, DC?
No, I don't think so.
And
I have 3 dogs in the house, and the younger ones like to play a lot.
And they've decided right now.
Yeah, it's a little early. They usually don't start playing till 8 o'clock.
So, and then the other, you had a second part of that question, didn't you, DC?
Sort of.
Trying to figure out.
So, getting back to the question I had asked, it was as much about being introverted as it was about maybe somebody hasn't been writing much, or maybe they feel like they're blocked or something like that. And using CampNaNoWriMo as at least an attempt at getting out of your shell, doing a little more writing. I think it could be twofold in that sense. So that's kind of where I was going with that question.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered that. I mean, the biggest thing is inspiration finds you already writing. So if you're not writing, chances are you're not going to be finding that inspiration to keep the words going either.
And
okay, so then, oh, sorry, DC, you say your thing.
Well, I was going to, a blog post I did a while back was, it was about drafting, and it was basically thinking about your favorite restaurant and going to it and thinking about the travel there, thinking about going into your favorite restaurant, the smells, the sounds, what's on the menu, what you're going to order, how it's going to taste, the drinks and all that. And with drafting, like you can't expect it to be your favorite restaurant. You have to expect it to be like you're bringing a friend. Actually, you're the friend going to the restaurant for the first time. How are they going to describe that experience? They're not going to have nearly as many descriptors. They're not going to have nearly as much detail. They're going to this place for the first time. They're experiencing it. They're excited about it because somebody's telling them about it. But you really have to write your first draft like your mind is your best friend and they're taking you to this cool place. and you just need to get in, experience it, and have enough information to kind of get it on paper. You don't have to like talk about how, oh, the tile was red and it was chipped in this one corner. You don't have to get all these fancy details. You're just going there to hang out with a friend doing something for the first time. And I think that's where people get it kind of messed up. They want it to be the most descriptive, perfect writing, and they never want to come back to it again. And that's where people can get blocked. And I think something like a CampNaNoWriMo, or later just NaNoWriMo, can maybe break people of some of those types of habits.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great analogy. That's pretty much exactly what it does. I mean, that's how I usually describe my first drafts too. They are more an outline of almost what I want to see and what I'm seeing in my mind, but it's not perfectly described. I got to visit that restaurant a few more times to get it right.
Exactly.
So, couple of just clarifications. So there are 3 NaNoWriMo events per year: April, July, and November.
That's right.
And each of those is an entire month long.
That's
and
correct.
Only NaNoWriMo is the 50,000 words. The others are just do as you kind of want, have fun, get the writing done.
Pretty much that describes it exactly. Unless you're a writer who can get 50,000 words done easy in a month, then I recommend setting a higher goal.
Okay.
I'm not going to say which writer I am.
I think you've already hinted towards that. But that's okay. And I like that kind of process and the challenge of it all. And then say you totally do fail. Actually, let's do both sides. What if you win and what if you fail? Like, what happens?
You've got words.
Okay.
What more can you
so
ask
bad
for?
that you have less words?
You had more words than what you started with.
Okay.
You went into the month with 0 words. You wrote 1,000 in the entire month. You were still up 1,000 words from when you started.
Awesome. So always a win, everything like that. Is there, but say you do cross the finish line of whatever your goal is, or if you are doing NaNoWriMo and you do all 50,000 words, do you win anything out of it besides the feeling of accomplishment?
You do get the feeling of accomplishment. There are actually winner's goodies for NaNoWriMo. I can't speak for camp because I keep failing at that one. I've really got to try not being so busy in the summertime. But in November, there is actually quite a few winner's goodies, a lot of discounts. If you use Scrivener, there's a discount code for Scrivener if you're ever interested in it. They have a lot of partners that they partner up with that provide discounts or a 30-day free trial that they don't normally give out. And I will be honest, I actually don't usually use them. I'm a pretty simple girl when it comes to writing. I have my Microsoft Word and I'm done.
Fair enough.
I am so sorry.
I think I was going to take it in. I've got 2 questions that are separate but sort of related. So I think it depends on what you go in. If your mindset is, this is just another thing, and I'm probably going to fail and all that. If you go in with a bad attitude, you're probably not going to get that much out of it. So you almost have to at least be neutral, be open to the idea that it could be helpful, or just completely open-minded and possibly positive about it and just see what you get. If you're either, if you're the introvert that I described earlier, or if you're blocked, you really can't, if you come out with one person, you had conversations you wouldn't have had as a result of it, it's successful. If you write, like you were saying, 1,000 words that you wouldn't have written otherwise, it's successful. And so I think for people who are apprehensive because as soon as they put that goal down, they're like, oh gosh, I have to do this. Or as soon as they see there's 2 or 3 people that are going to be in a cabin with them or something like that, that they get a little nervous that, this is, first off, you don't have to do it, number one, obviously. But if you are looking for tools, if you're looking for events and things like that to maybe bolster some of the things you're already doing or get you out of some kind of funk you might be in, this seems like something perfect.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right on that. It is perfect. It's not for everyone, for sure. Not everyone can really just let go and just let the words take control and be willing to let a draft be as bad as it can possibly be before they edit it. As I said, I've been doing this, we're going on 12 years now. Out of that, I have one book that's published, one that's going to be published, one that's sitting with my publisher for whether or not they want it. And that's out of 12 years. It took a while for me to actually get the hang of being able to write that quickly and write well that quickly.
But I have heard a lot of success stories out of people who have done NaNoWriMo, and it's the only one that really comes to mind right at the moment is Water for Elephants. Came out of a NaNoWriMo project too, right? So,
yes.
I'm kind of curious, how do you track your word count? How how do you keep track of that?
There actually is a widget on both the Camp Nano and regular NaNoWriMo sites. They are separate sites. And you just put in your total word count that whatever your writing document tells you. I use MS Word. I write in exactly what it tells me at the bottom at the end of the day. And it tells me approximately how many words I've written and how many I still have left to go. And that's all there is to it.
Nice. And you had a second question, right, DC?
Oh, I've got plenty.
I feel like I'm in trouble.
Right. So I want to take it. So you mentioned, so if let's say you knock it out of the park, you totally meet your goal or whatever, but like you said, you're probably writing much more quantity than quality. When you're done, like David had mentioned, there's like, okay, now I'm done. You just decide what you want to do with that writing. I mean, technically, you could just throw it out the window. It's done, whatever. I met my goal. I got it through. Or it could become part of a book. Maybe you did write a whole novella or something like that. And then you'd want to just dive right into whatever your publishing process is, whatever that looks like, right?
Yeah, pretty much that's it. I have yet to fully throw away any of the novels I've written. Some of them will never see the light of day as they are written, and I will be taking bits and pieces from them, pretty much cannibalizing them for future works. But the biggest trick I find to trying to get good quality out of Nano is to underwrite your story and to don't get too hard into descriptives. Don't get too hard into any of the narrative. Write the base of the story and leave it at that. Editing is when you can add all the wonderful details. You can smooth out the dialogue. You can get rid of repeat words. Don't even think about those. And that probably is the best way to get the good, decent quality out of your Nano novel is to not write too much. Write less.
Okay.
I know it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it really does.
It almost sounds freeing to me because I'm like, wait, but I used that word in the last sentence. I have to go back right now and delete it right now and look up a thesaurus, but I can't sound like it came from the thesaurus because people will call you out on that. So you're like, anyway, I digress. If someone has a lofty goal in Camp NaNoWriMo or the 50,000 words and people have jobs, people like what should you do with your personal life if you really are going to commit to a high goal? Why is that so funny, David?
I don't know. It's like you're just gonna have to leave your family and your spouse. You got to quit your job for a month.
Basically, like, because I could write at a fast clip, but 50,000 words sounds like a lot to me. I have a full-time job and a family, though, so I'm just trying to get some perspective because I know, writing is, while it's personal and you do it sort of by yourself, if you have responsibilities, setting these high goals can cause problems. So I just wanted to talk about that for a moment.
No, it definitely can. So I'm going to ask you, DC,
Mm-hmm.
if you're on a roll and you're just focused really hard, approximately how many words can you write in an hour on a fiction?
In an hour, if I'm on a roll, probably 500 solid, something like that, maybe a little more.
Okay. So do you think you can find pieces of 2 to 3 hours in a day or a few extra hours on the weekend?
Probably.
Then you can do NaNoWriMo and hit 50,000. That's it. 1,337 words is the daily go to hit 50,000 approximately.
And I don't have to quit my job, and my wife doesn't have to leave me.
Nope,
No, she doesn't need to leave you. She just needs to like
cook for you.
Well, that's even better. I was thinking DC's gonna have to lock himself in a hotel room or in a cabin in the woods.
Okay, but
It's
that gets a
expensive.
little suspicious.
He's already suspicious, so.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, as
You
I've
should see
mentioned,
my Google history,
it's
which could
probably
go
the
in a
same for
lot of
any writer.
Or
Trust
mostly
me,
just a writer.
when I tell my coworkers I know exactly how much cyanide per cherry pit and how many cherry pits are needed to put in a cookie to kill them, they tend to leave me alone.
Sounds like a lot of work, but
You know what? I make
There's got to
really
be an
good
easier way to do this.
I make really good cookies. It's really not that hard. I'll just keep the cherry pits out of the ones I want to eat.
How many does it take? I'm curious now.
For your average size man, you're going to have to shell the cherry pit to get to the softer, almost walnutty type center. So they're
Okay.
actually not going to be very much different in flavor from walnuts. And generally, depending on sensitivity of the person, we're looking at about 4 to 5 cherry pits per
Oh,
person.
that's no problem.
not so bad.
Yeah.
No, you just have to crack them open.
And that's to kill the person.
That's to kill the person with cyanide poisoning.
And now let's hope that no one that we know dies of cyanide poisoning.
Yeah, this
for a
is what
very,
happens
very long time.
when you write an assassin novel. I also ended up finding the homemade recipe for plastic explosives, and I really don't need to know these things.
Yeah. That'll get you on some lists. You got to be careful with that. So.
Yeah, this is why I do my Google searches from work. So.
Oh, that'll get your company on a list somewhere. No.
Yeah, we're an oil field company. We blow things up. I swear we do.
Totally makes sense. Well, great. David, you got anything else for this episode?
No, I am good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I suddenly had a phone call come through and I was like, no.
Oh, got it.
I'm happy that you guys didn't hear it.
This is the show of interruptions, and that's okay.
It seems like it.
Um,
I'm going to
all right.
invite my dog and cat and my son in all at once. So.
Sure. That's dismissing you, David. All right. So let's get to some promotions of some sort, and we'll go from there. I'll just get mine out of the way. That Writers Row is taking sponsorship now for book releases. So if you have a book release coming up and you would like us to pitch that, give you a little ad on here, contact us. There'll be an email in the description down below, and we will take your sponsorship and we will advertise your book release. So definitely take a look at that. What do you got, David?
I'm going to just send people, especially Canadian, over to cunosandgane.com, where we are selling our books as well as DC's, Don Hosmer's, and W.B. Welch's, who none of their books I have beside me. But yeah, you can buy their books. We ship them out. Yeah, it's fantastic. Plus, we have shirts and stickers and stuff. So, yeah.
Crystal?
Okay. I actually do have W.B. Welch's Blood Drops, which is actually up on my bedside table because the perfect time to read that is at night before you're going to bed.
Yeah. Yep.
And for my promotion, actually, and even a NaNoWriMo tie-in, it was my NaNoWriMo novel from 2016, Feathers and Fae, which was written without any plan or plot whatsoever in the beginning. It was a personal challenge, and that is coming out this October 11th, 2019. It's available for pre-order from Kyanite Publishing.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. And where is Kyanite from? I'm curious.
Kyanite is, I believe, based out of Colorado. Kyanite.
Kyanite. Oh, I totally murdered it. I apologize.
Yeah,
I
they're an
apologize to
independent
them.
publisher. They're actually really great people. They'll probably get a good laugh at that.
Okay.
Well, I know I follow some of them, so that's the bad part.
Yeah. Thanks, David. Last interview we get from someone that works with them. No. All right, great. Well, Crystal, I really appreciate you coming on. I know people are going to get a lot out of this, and I'm hoping that some people who were maybe on the fence or didn't know about Camp NaNoWriMo, they might take the plunge. I'm going to put the link in the description down below so people can go to the website. I'm actually considering doing it, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes.
We won't hold you to it.
Okay, great. But no, I really appreciate you coming on. So thanks so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Crystal. Especially, we kind of brought you in last minute here, and I really appreciate that as well. So
absolutely.
Hey, no worries. I'm just glad we didn't have the giant thunderstorm to knock out my internet. So it missed us in the north.
It's coming. It was funny because I talked to DC just recently, and he had like a beautiful thunderstorm going on in the background. So, and I knew you guys had yours, so I'm just waiting for mine.
DC, are you in a city? Do you have a solid connection?
Not really. I mean, well, it's a town, but yeah, good internet here. So, but we'll
envious.
We should call it a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk weather anytime. Anybody who's still watching this is like, what is going on? All right. Appreciate it. Thanks again, Crystal, and thank you, David.
Thanks, DC. Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.